Turn on our microphones first. First, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilman Larson.
Here.
Councilman Dickerson.
Here.
Mayor Green.
Here.
Councilman Castillo.
Here.
And Councilman Burchard.
Here.
Mayor Green, you have a quorum of the council for your special meeting.
All right, thank you. First action item is the wastewater pretreatment sludge handling building and reviewing of the bids. Where do we stand on that?
So, I had forwarded to you, the bids that were received, and also the memorandum from Baba Blondie, about his opinion about both bids. So the town of Alpine received 2 bids for the pretreatment and sludge handling facility. Only one of them was complete. That bid was in the amount of $663,252.31. And just for everybody's to be aware, there is an addition error between columns, and so that, though, is the correct amount. I have confirmed
That's
it.
where
Okay.
That's where the 3,000's missing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the second bid that we received was actually received via email. It did not include an electrical price. And so the engineers just did go through the exercise of looking at both bids side by side. And if they pulled out the electrical from the JL Concrete bid, then the bid would still have been higher than JL Concrete's without electrical. So the recommendation of the engineer is to accept the JL Concrete and construction bid in the amount of $663,252.31.
And there was a couple of questions that we had regarding
So
a couple line items.
Yeah, so some of them, the way they were written in, we have some square footages and eaches and time and material. I think if we accept the contract in the full amount, we just need to make sure that we do the math backwards,
Okay.
because they filled it in as a lump sum in both columns, even when they were square foot or eaches.
I think we're probably covered, because if it was eaches and the unit price was 1, then they would have multiplied it over.
Yeah.
But
So I think we just, as long as we accept it in the full amount, I think that's what is necessary to make sure that that doesn't shift. And if for some reason his pricing is wrong, he would have to submit some sort of change order.
amendment or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it would come back to council.
okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept bid from JL Concrete, or JL Construction and Concrete for the pretreatment building in the amount of $663,253.31. Also authorizing Mayor Green to sign the agreement between town and contractor.
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Any discussion?
I'm comfortable. JL Concrete's done
Yep.
a lot of our work. I'm comfortable with their bid and not only quality of work.
Yeah. I think we can just clarify a couple of those sticking points or questions that we have, but I mean, I think this is a pretty solid bid, and it was actually the only bid of the 2 that
Yeah.
was.
It's the only complete bid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, at this point, we asked we had like 5 or 6 different contractors we asked, and we only got 1 bid back, complete bid, so.
Yeah, we even advertised it in Idaho Falls and in Jackson as well as locally. It was important to us to try to, see if we could get additional bids this time, and we ended up with basically the same two people who bid on every job.
On every job.
Yeah.
And the square foot price was similar to what we built the shop for, just for the construction of the building, so.
Is there
I
an
think it's a fair-
estimated completion date? Was there any estimation on how long it would take to build from jail?
I don't think we got that.
Okay.
What?
Was there any estimation of time as far as how long it would take to build that we got from jail?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I'm sure that there's a plan, but I don't have that information.
Okay.
Do you know? It'll be in the bid award.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of accepting the bid from JL Concrete for the Alpine wastewater pretreatment and sludge handling building and allowing Mayor Green to sign the agreement, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes. Just to clarify, anybody that came in late and wants to speak regarding the next topic, you need to come.
Is there anybody else who wants to sign in
Thank you.
for that?
Oh, I found it.
And then you'll
October
hand it to Mayor Green when you're done.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually great.
That was,
Okay.
yeah, October 15th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. The next topic is regarding the town of Alpine sending out notifications to about 50 homeowners or property owners in the town of Alpine, and just letting them know that we have had some concerns about their property for various reasons, and it was kind of just a letter to say, we've noticed this about your property, and we wanted to start a discussion. So we weren't trying to pick favorites or anything, but we just wanted to send those letters out and let everyone know that we wanted to talk about it. So that's why you came here tonight, and we appreciate you coming. It was only in an effort to help clean up Alpine, basically, is what our goal was. So anyways, with that being said, we only have 4 people here that wanted to speak.
I don't have
So far?
Sawmill. This is the one I don't see listed.
Will there be a question and answer session?
We're going to have you come up and talk, and on the 4 properties that are on here, if you want to speak regarding your property, this is your time to do it. So
Do you get to speak or ask you questions?
281.
you get to speak, of course.
Sawmill Road?
Do I get to ask you questions?
Yeah, I
Of
did.
course, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But you need to sign on the form here if you want to speak.
There's a pen right here. Will you give me the address as well? Do you mind, sir? That way I can look up the ordinance.
What's your address?
I don't
What's your name?
personally know. I haven't seen the entire list. This is the entire list.
I'm not on the list, but I can still attend the meeting and be on the,
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't receive a letter.
Okay.
If you didn't receive a letter, you didn't know about this meeting or that this is occurring with my neighbors and friends.
Okay. Well, that's odd. We advertised, sent text
Yeah.
messages on the
Yeah.
website. Were you able to find them on our website? Did you have difficulty?
Yeah. And
Okay.
today I got a text, but
Okay.
I've known this issue for quite some time, with my neighbors and friends.
Okay. Thank you so much. That way I can highlight you. Class A. Trail Drive. Okay. 465 Groves River.
So we have about 8 people. I think we'll give 5 minutes apiece.
In that way, yeah.
Okay.
That works.
We do have another meeting at 7 o'clock, so we're going to try to, we'll give about 4 to 5 minutes on each property, and then we will just have to end it at 7. But, so the first one's Melissa Wilson. Her address is
31 East Mill.
331.
Okay. So it looks like 331 East Mill, identified issues were unlicensed vehicles, clean and orderly. That's what I have written down.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me speak. I appreciate that. So as a part of the abandoned property, all of our vehicles have titles. They all have plates. So I'm not for sure, and we're actively using them, so I'm not for sure what vehicles we were talking about. In regards to the other items that were on the list, we only got the pictures, so we didn't really get a for sure list on what exactly was wrong, right?
Yeah.
So my husband and I, we've spent quite a bit of money on our house in the past 4 years to improve our property. Your letter left us very unsure of what the problem actually was. We were extremely unhappy about receiving this letter. You really need to know how this letter from the town council and the mayor has affected the people within our community. We've had a neighbor who's widowed, who just lost her mother-in-law. She was almost in tears due to this letter because she was unsure of what she needed to do. She has been in the process of 3 years of contracting contractors to try to help her fix some stuff that she needed done. And they've been a no call, no show. Call another guy another year, no call, no show. And then when she gets this letter after her mother-in-law passes, it's not right. It really sucked for her, to be honest. And when she came over to our property, almost in tears, my heart went out to her. I was more righteously indignation for her than I was mostly for my husband and I. And we were pretty hot under the collar. My husband and I, our lifestyles and hobbies involve cars, from our Model T side-by-side, which is parked right outside, which is built with many different cars over the years, and our 1929 Ford Model A. We attend car shows. We help those folks in need with a hand with getting their old cars up and running and on the road again. We offer suggestions to make our local annual car show a better event for our town. When we got this letter from the town, we felt as if the town was trying to micromanage our lives, our lifestyle, and our property. Concerning your letter and the conditions of our property, we know that this is not about safety or health. We need to know exactly what your letter was in reference to and why. Our town is based on a community. This whole situation could have been handled better. You did say that it was just to start a dialogue. The letter that was sent stated that we had 14 days after receiving this notice to remove or update. It's hard if we don't know exactly what is wrong with our property. And if you look at our property, I mean, you only have a few pictures, but we have dumped a considerable amount of coin in our house, and to get this letter, and basically how we felt was, you're calling our house a dump. Every building on our property has a building permit. Every vehicle we've got has a title. And there's no way within the, you also said that you stated that you wanted to start the dialogue, but you said we had 14 days to rectify this problem. Let's see here, upon failure, the town may abate the nuisance and collect costs of such abatement. Well, if we don't know what that abatement is, and I don't know about everybody else here, we got the letter the Friday before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for us, we all work our butts off, and it's hard for anybody to try to get a contractor in town to do work on a short-term basis, right? I mean, y'all just mentioned that in your meeting, or in your bid, is that you only had one contractor actually fulfill your bid process. And this is a big job that you guys have. So it makes it a challenge. So we were not very happy with this. This possibly could have been handled a lot better with a better open dialogue, like, hey, town cleanup, this is June 7th, so take your crap out to the corner and we'll throw it away for you, which has been done in the past. So, thank you. I'll answer any questions you have about my property if you like.
I think most of the concerns were about the vehicles in the back.
Okay.
It sounds like you've got
So,
titles for them, but are they registered?
they are, yes, sir. And I have pictures of, so we work on other people's cars, we work on our cars, we use a lot of parts from different cars. And in your ordinance, it states abandoned property. But it also says implements or equipment of any kind which is no longer safely unusable for the purpose for which it was manufactured. I would like to present you a picture of our little side-by-side built with parts that some folks might have called unusable. This is our little Lizzie. She's built from five different pieces of parts of cars that some other folks, that's her process.
Thank you, Mom.
Of parts and pieces.
I've seen it.
So it's definitely a challenge on how we're all supposed to, change our lives and live our lifestyle.
And
If we
Mo,
can't-
none of the vehicles in the back, they don't fit any of the abandoned vehicles.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
There are cars back there that have pieces and parts, but as according to our ordinance, it says, in repair, other than for repair. And those cars that are back there that are fenders, right? As you can tell, we put them together with our cars and whatnot, so.
So we're over the 5 minutes.
Yes, sir, I'm
But,
done. Sorry, boss.
But I will say that
No, that's okay.
we definitely, this was the start of the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Timing can't be perfect for everybody.
Right?
So didn't mean to inconvenience anybody with that. But basically, at this point, we're taking it on a case-by-case basis, and you're gonna have an opportunity, like right now, to tell us, your concerns with the letter. Appreciate that. And then we'll let the staff and the town council take it from there. So there may be an update very soon that says you are in compliance.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not necessarily, unless that vehicle's out on the road, I know I'm out from time, I apologize. Unless that vehicle's out on the road, I mean, we don't necessarily have to show you guys that we have tags and titles on them, but we do, or not titles, but tags, but, so the cops can pull us over if we don't have our registrations and our tags and our insurance, but.
The ordinance specifically says you can have one unlicensed vehicle on your property.
Right.
So that's why we questioned it, so. Okay. Shannon, you're next. This is 619 Snake River Drive.
Okay, and this says identified issues for 619 Snake River Drive, clean and orderly.
My name's Shannon Jones. I do reside at 619 Snake River Drive. I reviewed all the ordinances on the letter, and I agree with all of them. I've had a total mess of the place. We have taken massive steps to remedy the situation. I have registered a lot of the vehicles, sold boats. The white Bronco is for sale currently now. I had one that went down the slow leak and all the tires were flat. I agree with that one too. The house on the back, if you got a picture of that, it was half painted. Well, maybe not. But I just want to apologize to the town, my neighbors. But I got the top half and I ended up workplace injury. Tore both shoulders same time. I've had 2 surgeries, 2 years. Got another one coming up next month. But I'm kicking butt. I just bought a power washer, pick up where I left off on that, and I'm gonna work on it. Thank you guys.
I've seen the property recently and it looks great.
I'm working on it.
Congratulations on getting everything cleaned up. That was the
Appreciate it.
intention when sending out these
Right, I
letters,
understand.
to spur people along, and that's a perfect example of what we were hoping would happen. So appreciate what you've done, but it doesn't look anything like these pictures anymore, so good job.
Well, and Shannon, I think you brought up a good point, that if there are, because I'm sure everybody works, everybody has issues, a lot of people have health issues, they're not able to do improvements. I think that's a time where we can really utilize the town and reach out and say, let's go help our neighbors. I'll sign up, I know how to paint and sand and do all of that.
Dumpsters too. I took 4 loads to that.
Yeah.
Good.
That's a good thing to have there. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Shannon.
Marlene O'Leary is next.
Oh, that's, okay. She's not on our list.
Hi, I'm Marlene O'Leary, and I live at 281 Sawmill. And I did not get a letter, although through the years I could have. My property, my husband died without a will, and there was an estate issue for 3 years. And I was unable to do anything with anything for 3 years. And I was under duress, the loss of my husband, and 3 years later, and it takes a process, and then COVID hit, et cetera. My dear neighbor did get a letter and called me, and I'm like, no, not in Alpine, and I was surprised I didn't get a letter, right? And for me, living in Wyoming, there's private property rights. And if those things were out on the street, have at it. It is a nuisance. Otherwise, a nuisance in your eyes is maybe like the woman who had talked is, to survive, useful, and it's my private property. I could have a fence that you could not look in, and there's some community associations where I can't go in and look at my neighbors, my new neighbors, and find a fence with something in there behind their fence without even being welcomed in their community to do that. And I find this letter extremely offensive. I have lived in community associations. I've lived a lot of places, and that's why I live here, because it does not have a community association. Down to the point what color you can paint your door. I choose, okay? My property taxes for my ex-junk property is gone 2.5 times property tax, and the valuation that I get taxed on, it's the land, it's not what's on the land. And I have construction of Airbnbs, and the money to enforcement is paid out of my tax dollars for this. And the travel and tourism for strangers to be in my 10-unit building is out of my control, and the construction and the thing and the waste and the strangers and dogs in my yard. To me, that's not being neighborly. They're not even my neighbors. This is offensive, and actually, in the community associations, the city, it goes county, and all the way up as far as if this is even legal. It's offensive, and I found it very snarky at the bottom. Let's work together to make our town a thriving town where quality of life and well-being is key for our Alpine citizens. It's not for the Alpine citizens that have been here for some over 30 years. And to determine what is a nuisance and what is not. I agree with the refrigerator doors and the childhood, but that's a civil. If somebody wants to do a civil case, that's a civil case. It's not the town. There's plenty of work for the town to manage, your roads, the snow removal, etc. This is now my private property and the neighbors of my private property, and this is offensive, so that's it.
All right. Just for the record, we have ordinances in place. I didn't write the ordinances, but I'm going to enforce the ordinances. So that's why these letters went out.
Well, I find it interesting that the town attorney that my tax dollars also pay for is not here to speak.
He's on his way. He'll be here soon enough, but he was in.
Not on time.
He was in a trial today.
He was in camera at a trial, so he's going to be here
Well,
soon
I
enough.
make time out of my schedule to attend, just saying, yes.
Oh, he's on his way.
He'll be here soon enough. I don't know what this next one is. Is it Timothy?
Oh, like he didn't put his name.
His address?
Timothy, that says Timothy.
Go ahead, is that you, sir?
That's me.
Come on up. What's your address?
424 Meadows Drive. So I'd like to start out with asking a question. When Mayor Green decided to send out this letter, is it voted on with any of you other members? sitting up here, was it his decision and his decision only? Because I have to agree with this lady right here. I find your letter very offensive. I've heard about this letter since the day you was elected and what you plan on doing to us in this community. And I ain't gonna stand for it. And there's nothing on my property that you're coming to take. There's nothing on I am rebuilding my house as I see fit, as I can afford to go along. And next week, I got 3 truckloads of road base coming that I'm gonna dump on my property, that I'm gonna slowly redo my driveway and fix it up. Avail Valley has made road base available that I can afford. I don't like your letter. I don't like the offensiveness of your letter. And I've heard things of what you plan on doing, what your agenda is. This letter's no surprise to me. And it's very offensive, and you piss me off. And you ain't got the right to change this community. Sitting in that chair does not give you the right to change this community and to change our happy way of Wyoming life. I've never had a more insulting letter addressed to me by any community. I've lived in Wyoming my whole entire life, and you are not going to change my life. This is what I think of your letter. This is what I think of you.
Thanks for coming. I don't know what the next one is.
425 Meadows Drive. Unlicensed vehicles, clean and orderly.
All right. Come on up, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah.
My name's Mike Schmidt. I lived here 43 years in Alpine. I've seen a lot of mayors come and go. The letter was threatening. You got 14 days to comply. What's today? Day 15? We're already out of compliance. I had a lot of cars in my life on that property. I had a bunch of Volkswagens. I sold them all. I had a 240Z. I sold the 240Z. I had a British Land Rover. I sold that. I made money on them. I had to have cars to get to work in Jackson because there was no work in Alpine unless you're a bartender or a real estate agent. I have a Suburban I'm working on. It needs some work on the transfer case. I haven't licensed it. I bought it last year, and I figured as soon as I tear the transfer case out, I'll get it licensed. It runs. I can drive it around. It's fine. None of my cars are on blocks. All my cars have air in the tires. I have two extra cars, one 96 Chevy Caprice and one 99 Suburban. And then I have 2 that I use all the time. I thought the letter was threatening. I mean, did you grow up in Rafter J?
Does that have anything to do with that?
Rafter J has a bunch of covenants where a friend of mine has a race car driver, is a race car driver. He has a car. He can't bring his car trailer onto Rafter J and work on his car. He can't bring his boat. He has to take his boat up on the hill there over winter. You can't have a motorcycle trailer. You can't have a house trailer. You can't have anything in Rafter J. People live in Alpine because there's a certain amount of freedom. We don't like that much. We're not real fond of people from Jackson Hole. We think they're all Democrats. So we have a animosity, and that's a hard thing to get over. We have a certain amount of freedom here, and we like our freedom. Did you grow up in Rafter J?
No.
Okay, I'm just wondering if you had this mindset. I know that we've talked about different things, and you want to have all these rules and regulations like Jackson Hole has.
We have rules and regulations, we have laws, ordinances, and they're on the books. They've been on the books a lot longer than I've been here.
Right,
What
right.
I'm trying to do is enforce them.
Well, we got to get along, though. I mean, you don't threaten people. That letter was a threat. I don't care what anybody says. That letter says, you got 14 days, otherwise we're going to abate it. We're going to take your stuff, and you're going to pay for us taking it. That makes us mad. Do you understand that? You know what else makes us mad? Is when we get all these housing projects. High-story housing projects, 500 more people in Alpine, all of a sudden, and they're renters and not homeowners. That's going to change the whole face of this community. And who's going to benefit? The landlords. That's it. It's going to be overcrowding. I was against it when Don Wooden and Bailey Dotson and Peter Burtness decided to build that subdivision down below me. Smoke Valley, they called it, because the sawmill used to dump smoke there all the time. I was against it because it was quarter-acre lots. I said, why not just give people a half-acre lot? Why not just let them breathe? You wouldn't even need a sewer if everybody had a half-acre lot. You could have a septic system. No, they put quarter-acre lots in because they wanted to make more money. Now we're housing projects? You're worried about a car in somebody's yard when we're talking about 500 people coming in here in a drove? That's what gets me upset. It really does. I'll license my cars if that's all you got to worry about. The red canoe, I just rebuilt it. It has brand new thwarts, brand new seats, brand new yoke in it. And my son's going to pick it up in 2 weeks. So the red canoe goes. I don't know if you got a problem with my boats, but they're licensed, they're covered. I got to put a new windshield in that speedboat. I like working in my backyard, on my toys, on my cars, on my boats, on motorcycles. I like the freedom to be able to do that, and I'm afraid you're going to take it away. That's all I got to say. Just ripped your speaker out of the wall. I hit it with my leg. Sorry.
That's okay, we'll fix it.
Your phone jack?
It's not fixable.
It's okay.
Now I have to figure out how to get a mic up there.
You can come sit.
We may have to use that microphone over there.
They might have to sit.
But
You can turn mine around for now.
let's just, well, maybe we'll just come up over here. Next is Justine Logan, 171 Senators.
Might be more comfortable if you have a seat, because it's short now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live at 171 Center Street, Unit A. You gonna tell me what?
Yes, identified issues, unlicensed vehicles, clean and orderly.
Is that one ordinance that's together, or is clean and orderly about something else?
That should be two ordinances.
So what does clean and orderly mean? That's really vague.
Okay, maintenance of premises. This is an ordinance from 2003. Clean and orderly premises is stated as, it shall be the duty of any owner, agent, tenant, purchaser, contractor, or lessee of any premises within the town, including places of business, dwelling houses, apartments, tenements, construction sites, or other establishments at all times to maintain the premises in a clean and orderly condition, permitting no deposit or accumulation of garbage, refuse, rubbish, or other waste materials other than those necessary or ordinarily attendant upon construction or upon the use for which such premises are legally intended. Any such accumulation is hereby declared to constitute a nuisance and non-conforming use of the premises.
Okay, so I'm not sure where that fits in. This whole letter was vague. The reason my husband and I came today was because we thought you were going to describe what this was all about. Here's what we want to do. You just send us all up here to talk. It is an offensive and threatening letter. It's vague. It does. You go and look at the ordinances. One of them, this one right here that you guys made a copy of, doesn't even tell you anything. It's like, what does this mean? What is going on here? All of our vehicles except for one are licensed. All of them have tags and registrations. And two, only the one is not insured. My boys are in college. They're both away working this summer. Those are their cars. One's in Alaska. He can't have his car there. And he's going to sell it when he gets back. But why is that your business? Why do I have to come and tell you that here? I lived in Jackson for 25 years. Moved out here because, like that guy said, there's no quality of life there. If I wanted to live in Jackson, I'd still be there. If I wanted to live in a homeowners association, I would go and move there. Move in a homeowners association. I don't have a homeowners association. This is our property. We do keep it up. I want somebody to come out. Somebody said they got pictures. We didn't get any pictures. We looked up the weeds. We can't tell, you didn't tell us, these are the weeds that need abating or whatever. We were going through all of these, not knowing what you were dinging us on. And I'd like you to answer that question, all of you. Did Mayor Green decide to send these letters all by himself?
Yes.
That is disturbing, sir. That is upsetting. How dare you? How dare you? I don't care if it is on the books. There are, like she said, there are so many better ways you could have gone about this. At least in Jackson, for all of their issues, they do town cleanup days where they offer services, where they come together like a community and try and clean up together. What about our disabled neighbors? What about our elderly neighbors? My husband and I take our crap to the dump every 2 to 3 weeks. What about our neighbors who can't do that? What are you doing for them? You have better use of your time than this crap. This is nonsense. Shame on you.
Mel, yes, please come up.
It wasn't just him, it was him and staff. And a lot of us have been here long, five-years longer, so it wasn't just him. So if you're gonna hate people, you should hate all of us. Okay.
Whose idea was it?
Whose idea was what, the letters?
The letter,
The
that
letters-
letter, that particular
The
letter.
letters were discussed before he was ever even in.
Who wrote that particular letter?
And did somebody reread
The staff, not him?
Not him, you did not write the letter.
Did you read it
Why
out
is-
loud to hear what it sounded like? Well, the buck stopped.
Okay, let's keep going here.
There was a spring cleanup. We do it every year, it's in May.
Why wasn't this letter put out before the spring cleanup? Don't you think that would have been a wiser idea?
Let's keep moving forward here. So Kevin is next. Thanks, Kevin. 160 Trail Drive.
The mic's working up there too.
Oh, it is now?
Wherever you want.
Wherever you want to go.
Thank you.
So 163 Trail Drive Road, unlicensed vehicles, clean and orderly, very minor.
Okay.
Right now.
In the whole context of this, I want to say I've been here 25 years, not as long as some of you, and I've seen other times when the room was this hot, and it was times when they were proposing a ski hill, and everybody came in and said, hell no, we don't want the yuppies kicking us out of our home. Okay, enough is enough. We don't need yuppie Jackson Hole in Alpine. That's why we're here. If you guys want to have yuppie parties, do it elsewhere. Okay. So, all of my boys, I have 5 boys. All but one of them was born right there. Well, one of them was born behind Jenkins. We're one of the few that can say, you know, my kids are some of the few that can say they were born in Alpine before there was a hospital. And all of them are driving age now. And some of them have mechanical desires, want to hot rod things, learn how to build things, learn how to fix things. So we get 4-wheelers for them. We get broken 4-wheelers for them. We do these things for their education. And right now, it's become apparent because of our tax situation. We've seen how the Jackson Hole has kicked the regular people out. I personally know 4 people born and raised in Jackson Hole that had properties paid for, multi-generational, that had to leave because of property taxes. So here we are, we have property taxes threatening all of us, and then threatening letters. about our basic way of life. Two of those vehicles in our yard, there are two, well, one of them we're turning into an ATV so we can get the little $35 sticker for. But the other one, some yahoo over on Cottage Drive sold it to my son, thinking we could take the engine out of it, the Subaru, put it in a different Subaru that has a lot nicer body, a lot less miles, but the engine was bad. And it turned out that engine was bad, and he did it to my son when he was quite young, and basically stole $2,500 from him, and my son didn't even know enough to get the title from him. So there is one of them that isn't titled, and we've been trying to decide, is it worth trying to get a sheriff's title for, or do we just take a Sawzall to it, haul it to the dump? Or are there parts, or can we take it apart and learn something as we're doing it? I mean, the government's been trying to destroy the younger generation for a long time, and they've succeeded in the cities. As you can see, where only 25% of like Chicago can even graduate being able to read. So we don't want to see that kind of big city BS come to Alpine. We've seen the trends. We've seen the destruction. We've seen it, the billionaires who own the government ruin Jackson Hole and try to do the same thing here. I've had enough. Wyoming has seen enough altogether, and we don't need a yuppie invasion of Alpine. I don't know if there's anything. Oh, my wife wanted me to mention weeds. There is a weed. There is a weed on our property. I don't know who takes care of the big circle next to us. I think it's the town, or the big triangle on the other side of us. I think it's also the town. And what they do, it's really stupid. They wait until the knapweeds go into seed, then they spray it, and then it prolificates. So the town, whoever's spraying those properties, is actually making it worse. Also, the neighbor to my rear, so that's the only one we have on our property that might be considered noxious, and it's probably the town's fault. And there's a neighbor behind us that has I don't know if you got a letter or not, but there's a full Russian olive that is on the noxious weed list. I don't know if you got a letter or not, but he's not here tonight. So anyway.
I just see clean and orderly. I don't think you got the noxious weed.
Noxious weed was on our letter.
It was? No, you wouldn't. You'd have to.
But a lot of these things are the problem of the town. The way they just killed the road, or like right along the road, completely wipe it out with a herbicide, and then like worse stuff comes up than the grass that was there. I mean, like, I'm not going to go fix your property. I put up signs so that dingleberry doesn't spray our property and ruin it right up to the asphalt. I mean, people really got to make some common sense here before they go sending out threatening letters. Be here long enough to know what's happening.
Thanks for coming. Amanda Beckett.
What property is that?
465 Grays River.
I got volunteered as tribute for my neighborhood, so I wasn't quite prepared. I think we're echoing a similar thing here tonight, that this just didn't feel like our community. Felt threatening, offensive. We weren't sure what to make of it. I think it's also interesting that nobody else here was involved in the writing of the letter. Our neighborhood, we call it the Loop. We all know each other. We all take care of each other's dogs. We all take care of each other's kids. We do the best that we can. So offensive, I think, and threatening is probably the right tone. I am from Jackson. I'm 7th generation. I don't live there for a reason. And I'm sure everyone in here can understand why. We like to have our camper. My son loves to snowmobile. I have every dirt biking teenager in Alpine at my house at night, so I know they're safe. We are a community of people who like to take care of each other. I think a lot of us don't know you. You're new. A lot of us had Kenneth for a long time, and he was our neighbor and our friend and somebody we saw out and about. We don't know you, and this was our introduction to you, and it wasn't good. I would have honestly, personally, liked to meet you on a better note. So just maybe going forward, keep that in mind, that we all are human beings. We all are going through our own things. And that you did say you wanted this to be a conversation, but that probably wasn't the best way to start it. I don't know we do have a car that we just got tags for, the Subaru. Other than that, I'm not sure what our other offenses were.
It just said clean and orderly, very minor vehicles with a question mark.
Okay,
I would say you're just fine.
okay. Where did it say that? Because the letter just listed random ordinances.
This was our internal notes on the property. So this is our own information that she's referencing here. This was not sent out.
But you went around and took pictures of everybody's property but didn't personalize what was wrong. Do you see how that doesn't feel good? Just maybe something to think about going forward? Meet your neighbors.
So that's all that we have signed up. Appreciate you all coming out and.
Question. I'm at 168 Parkway Drive. I came in the day I got the letter twice, and you couldn't tell me exactly why I was on the list.
We don't have anything written down.
What,
We don't have anything written down.
what's the address?
168 Parkway Drive. I have the same question.
What address, who said same question? What address?
195 Store.
That looks like Alpine.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's me. Every one of those are registered. They're ATVs, snowmobiles, they all have registration stickers.
And you own them all? Or is this, you're running a business out of this residence, right?
I do, I work on ATVs and dirt bikes out of there, and I have a business license from the town of Alpine. Because I've been there for 25, 28 years. You guys changed around me, I didn't change around you. So again, what am I, why did I get?
We'll be following up with everyone and getting more clarification, everyone that got listed. So in the near future, we'll have more clarification from you, or for you. But at this point, I don't have specifics on, why
How
you.
can you not have specifics? I mean, you decided that I was unruly, unneighborly.
My initial instinct is the clean and orderly is,
Because I live in Alpine and own dirt bikes, ATVs, and snowmobiles, that's what this community is. ATVs, dirt bikes, snowmobiles. Almost every house has at least 2 ATVs and dirt bikes in their front yard.
they don't.
They do.
Every house in Alpine has, I'm not gonna get into that with you guys.
Well, I mean, I find it odd that you want to be a mayor of a place that
That's why
is
people are
not you,
asking if you're
because
from Jackson.
if we're all ATVers, dirt bikers, snowmobilers, and that is offensive to you, the town's not for you, but you're in charge of it now. It overwhelms me. And I really don't understand that 30 days ago, we were in here for a meeting because our property values are set too high, and now you're trying to do opposite. If we cleaned everything up, then our property's just gonna be higher. I mean, how is that? I mean, that's standard two-face right there.
All I can say is everyone should get a clarification letter in the near future. And
So
so,
we hurry up, sit and wait, and get judged. So we all just sit and wait to be judged by you, not the council group, you.
Exactly.
I heard that, I heard from Dan,
Because you're going to war against us.
I heard from Dan, go ahead. I heard from Dan that you went around the whole town personally and picked out the 50. Is that true? I have to ask you, is that true?
I drove around town with staff, and we went through, and they showed me most of the properties in town that were suspect or should get letters.
Staff got paid for it.
Wow.
Bullshit.
Our behavior, that's why we elected you.
Staff doesn't
Is
live
that,
in town.
that what you felt to prioritize with money and the increase in taxes, that's where our money's
Yeah.
going to.
I don't have anything to do with your taxes, so it's,
If you took staff and you're getting paid
Staff
for
lives
it,
in an
us,
We're
HOA.
paying for travel and tourism, we're paying for real estate, you know, I mean, that's what it's all about, and selling us out, I mean, that's it.
Yep.
Out of
Because it
12
doesn't look good.
houses, you picked 50?
Yeah,
Facing the community and
seriously,
property
that
values,
feels
let's
really
be
great.
real.
People lived in Alpine for community, for freedom, not for socialism.
That's right.
all right, well, we have another meeting coming up, so I appreciate everyone showing up tonight.
We've got one more, 195 Store Drive. I have written down unlicensed vehicles with a question mark, clean and orderly. Do we have pictures of 195 Store Drive? Yeah, right there. Did you want to come up and discuss anything about that?
Which one's unlicensed?
It had a question mark. I'm not sure.
Oh, curious. You all have licenses. But, okay. Is that maybe the boat? Yeah.
Well,
That one's in question. I'll give you that. Clean
well, and I
and
don't know if
orderly.
if the ordinance covers that.
Yeah.
I think the ordinance just covers automobiles as far as registration.
Okay.
Boats may not be
Yeah,
involved in that.
all the cars are licensed. Clean and unorderly. I did a lot of cleanup over the weekend, so I think it changed a lot. But otherwise, my 5-year-old, I can't get her to clean. So whatever her junk is, I pick it up as it goes.
I walk by that house every day, I don't have an issue with it.
Actually, it looks a whole lot better than it did when I bought it. But
Well,
I-
that's a question. With any of these properties, did any of the neighbors come forward to complain? about the properties?
You would have to ask the staff, I don't know.
I mean, some projected this to happen. Who projected
I
it?
thought we got one, didn't we?
Okay, hold on one second, go ahead, you have the floor.
Yeah, so who made the decision to send this? Like, why did this come through?
Well, this has
why'd
been
we
in
get
the
it?
works for many years, as I said, and ultimately, it was my decision that we would send out the letters.
Mhm. I mean, I appreciate you trying to clean up the town a little bit. I need a kick.
Thank you.
But why'd you threaten us? That's what the letter was a threat. It's, do this, or we're gonna do it for you and we're gonna charge you. That's my question. Think about it.
You have the right to change our lives. Sitting up in that chair does not give you the right.
Again, I didn't make the rules, I'm trying to enforce the rules.
Do you have any remorse, though, for making an entire community of people feel like shit about their properties for a letter you decided to write that you could have had
Honestly, the
and not send it as...
actually, the feedback we've gotten has been quite positive.
Who's that?
People have definitely made comments and appreciated that we're trying to do what we're doing, so.
The people you live with, the people you have cocktail hour with.
Are they the people you
I know, I've
give
never
letters
met
to?
you. You didn't ask me, you didn't talk to me about it. The feedback loop.
So-
Right here, you don't have an answer.
Anyways, we have another meeting now. I appreciate everyone's coming out
You
and the
don't
feedback.
look complete disdain for us.
That's what it seems
You're
like.
just blowing us off.
Yeah.
We'll get followed up with, what does that mean? It's
There-
as vague as your letter.
There's a process and you will know more soon. So I,
Well, I hope you have somebody who read your next letter with your follow-up, because you need some help with your writings.
No, I think you shouldn't enjoy your tenure for too long, because you're gonna be out of here soon. You get that kind of disdain for your right.
thanks for coming.
We're out.
Do we have, we should adjourn.
Thank you.
Do we need to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah.
The special
Somebody
meeting?
make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, we have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Turn off your mics.
Just like to thank town council for
Thank you. What's your name, sir?
Jeff Raven.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
How you doing? Yeah, it was discussed. They noticed. Lady that was sitting right there. I don't see her anymore.
Monica, I don't have the agenda for this, I don't think, but,
Yeah, there's a second pile. It's up top. It was up top, up here. So this is for the second meeting,
Okay.
the one above.
Oh,
That's yours.
I didn't see it either. Okay, okay, this is the one I have.
okay, sounds good. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a work session on June 6th regarding the cleaner development. And Colby Cox and Stephen Funk are here. And I'll let you guys take it from here. You want to make a little presentation? I have the plans that you've sent. So if you want to reference them or whatever, just let me know if there's anything else. And if you guys just want to sit there and keep it real low key, it's fine with me. Let's just get, if you don't mind, we'll get a microphone turned around so we can. Oh, he did? Yeah. They can sit up there if they want, or you can come up here. It doesn't matter. Just that we want to make sure that you can be heard.
Are we live?
Yep.
Okay. You want it up there or?
Sure, if you don't mind, Thanks.
Is that on?
Just turn on the mic there, Mr. Funk.
It's turned red, so I assume it's on. It's like yours, so it's on. First of all, hi. Nice to be here. With me, Colby Cox, Maria Underhill, my son Trevor Funk, who works with me, and or I work for him, I think, actually. And then Brian James, architect, local, that you probably all know, who's been on the team since day one and helped us with some of the preliminary thinking and layouts. I want to kind of give you a little background on how this all got started. And I also want to digress for a minute, and I want to say hi to Michael Klinger and Brent Johnson, Karen, whom I suspect are looking in on this. Brent's in the hospital up in Jackson, and he's in a tough position, stage 4 cancer, and I want to tell him, memorialize for the record, that Brent, you and Michael are just two of the most unique characters I've ever met in my life. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And Brent, I love you, man, and get better and be well. And I hope the outcome of what we start here tonight is what you guys all want and what I promised you I would try and do. So about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, I pulled up in front of the Nordic Inn one night. It was cold. And Michael was standing there, and he came outside, and he, to this day, complains about how I froze him to death, but I can't understand if I talk more than him or he talks more than me. I think it's him. But we had a great night. We both froze. And one of the last things I said to him, which he remembers to this day, is I said, you know, you've got the last great opportunity. You've got one of the greatest pieces of land for Alpine to put a signature and a presence on its existence and its being. And I think heretofore it's developed in a very individualistic way. But this is one of the greatest pieces of land to showcase this city, or this growing town becoming a city someday, to the world. And for the next year or two, he kept saying to me, Steve, just buy the land and develop it. And I'm going, man, I'm getting old. I got too much to deal with. I don't want to. I thank you very much. And he was persistent. And finally I said, look, if you give me some time just to put it under contract, memorialize the image that you want and the outcome that you've always dreamed about. And by the way, the Klinger family, as you all know, go way back in history here. And he did. And, you know, like, I'm not a master plan developer. I've got a lot of real estate experience. I've been around master plans. But I also don't have a back office and a staff and a support team and all that kind of stuff anymore. And at first I said to the city, if you want to buy it, you take it. But that came with far too many complexities, as you can all imagine. So then it was, am I going to develop it? And my sons, who are becoming very competent in real estate, just have not had that depth of experience. And Colby and I have known each other for a while. He came down, he looked at it, he went away, months went by, and I don't know, somehow it became a life of its own, and we both became kind of enthused about what it could be and how it could turn out. To me, it's a bit of a passion project. I want to see a beautiful outcome for the community. I'd prefer not to blow my brains out developing it. But that project is going to be, in today's dollars, probably well north of a $250 million build. It's a big deal. And so Colby and I are in sync on this. We're still doing a lot of evaluation. I mean, a lot. We're digging in deep like I've never dug in deep on real estate before, and Mariah and Colby are superb at that. Colby and I haven't yet formed a formal partnership, so we're not here to say we're doing the deal and going to make a proposal to build. We're here to see how you guys all feel about it and react to it and support it and think, and for you to get as much sense from us of how this came about as us get a sense from you of how we go about it. So I think with that, I'll let Colby come up.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, so the property itself is a little, while it's a great piece of land, it's a little tricky, right? So we've got some hillside that we're dealing with. We've got some power lines that we're dealing with. We've got some right-of-way that we're dealing with. So that's kind of the, a lot of the studies that Steve was talking about and the things like that. That's what we're really diving deep into. Vision-wise, do you mind scrolling up?
This?
No, sorry, to the...
There you go.
Yeah, okay, so this is just a, call it, pure lot fit schematic. So the goal of this is just to see, okay, in terms of layout, how do we create a community that has kind of the look and feel of a master plan, can support the amenities that, a community like this should have at the price point that it's got. How do the entranceways line up in terms of the highway? What's the look and feel as you come in? Call this kind of a first shot to develop some talking points just to give you guys something in terms of a vision for what it could be. Okay. Now, I can tell you right now, having done this for 20 years, this is going to change 15 times. Because we're going to discover, we're going to do soil studies, and we're going to find out, what we have out there, depth of groundwater. There's going to be all kinds of, restrictions in terms of right-of-ways and boundaries and hillsides. Setback requirements, which I want to talk to you about. And zoning and the process and how that would all work. So in terms of the process, we've kind of dug into the existing codes and the ordinances and the development regulations and all of that stuff. I will say that I don't think that there is, currently a mixed residential commercial district that lines up with what would work here. So from a process standpoint, I think the best thing to do would be, to kind of lay out a map for the future. Once we can kind of have a more formal design charrette where we can actually work with you and bring in our land planner and go through a whiteboard of just moving a bunch of stuff around, and we might even invite the fire marshal and some people from planning and zoning, and kind of really map out a vision for the thing where we're getting real-time feedback.
Right.
And our planner can sit there and modify on the fly, and make changes and move things around. And but process-wise, I think it's probably an annexation proposal, which would then propose an annexation agreement, which would lay out a certain set of stipulations that we would have to adhere by as part of the annexation, but it would also have attached to it probably a zone specific for this property, which is something I've done with towns many times before. Because of its unique nature, because the property itself is, you know, kind of the gateway in a lot of ways to one of the main corridors coming into the town. I think we have an opportunity, as Steve said, to do something pretty special here. It's going to take a lot of creativity. It's a small site, you know, but it's one that I think, you know, has the potential to satisfy a lot of needs, some needs that aren't being met, you know, including, you know, light retail, some town amenities. We've talked about a potential, you know, amphitheater, some kind of a town music venue, if that was something that people wanted. Plenty of other options on the table. So, you know, I want to make sure you understand that this is not, you know, this is not like, hey, this is what we want to do, okay? This is purely for discussion purposes, and it's also to give you an idea of the kind of density that we think, you know, would fit in an area like this that is going to be annexed into the town, as like surrounded by commercial on all sides, right? You got the KJs to the south, I guess. You know, you've got the Brulums across the street. You know, you're pretty much surrounded by commercial. And honestly, I think if this hadn't been put in Steve's hands, I think what you'd see here is another shopping center proposal. I think that's exactly what a developer would walk in with. And that's not what we're trying to do. So we're trying to create an eclectic neighborhood, you know, that has really got its, you know, a sense of place, you know, that can, you know, really, you know, add value to the town, because you drive in and you're like, whoa, what is that on the right? You know, and there's a coffee shop, you know, there's, you know, probably some professional office space. There's a bunch of services that the town needs, a dry cleaner, you know, things like that, you know, fundamental services, and then, you know, ancillary services that really attract people. So that's a good starting point, I think. And you know, I believe what we'd love to do at this point is, you know, answer questions, get any kind of feedback you have. You know, what do you think about what we said, the process, and then generally, you know, what's your appetite for something like this?
Do you want to walk us through the kind of the rest of these slides and what we're looking at here?
Sure. I wish I could go and
Feel
point
free.
at them.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, the spots could be whatever. It could be a hotel, it could be a rec center, it could be really structural spaces.
Bowling alley.
Colby, what's the overall acreage? Because I know that there's multiple parcels,
Yeah.
so pulling them up, what's the total acreage that we're
So
looking
we're
at?
roughly 33 to 35 acres, and the reason why I say roughly is because it encompasses this section of hillside. We're in a conversation right now about the parcel that it goes from essentially the boundary line to the Nordic Inn Road,
Right.
the road that accesses there. So this is roughly 7 acres, 7.2 acres. This section here is about 8, so it'd be a trade, if depending on what we did there, you're still talking about 33, 34, 35 acres.
So that slope is so intense that you can't.
Yeah.
Can't build on it.
Yeah, and there's
That's
residential, like right
Right,
here.
they're up above, yeah.
So then you're talking about like massive retaining wall systems and
Right.
stuff that it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, so the idea here is to create kind of a mini town center. You know, and keep in mind, that's not like kind of, you know, a civic town center. It's more of like an arrival point. So you come in and you feel a sense of arrival. You're surrounded, you know, by shops and commercial on the first floor of buildings like this. Above it would be residential. So they'd be condominium / double stacked townhomes, so like 2-story units. you have some kind of a staple, monument. This is a clock tower, but, it could be a variety of things that kind of announce that you're here. On this side would be kind of a big, welcome to Alpine type structure. These are multi-family units that, again, just, it's about more the idea of it mixed in with single-family residential. And so in a lot of the communities I've developed in the past, the way that you activate this space and get a lot of energy around it is by using density kind of differently throughout the project, where you mix multifamily in with single family.
That was my other question. So I know you said 90, am I reading that correctly? 90 single family. Are each of those homes to the right of the 3 high-density buildings, are all of those single family?
Yeah, those are all proposed as single family. I actually think we're going to modify that a little bit, or would like to. I'd like to have, single family, a stack of townhomes here, another single family. I'd like to intermix some of the multifamily and the singles together.
And then what is the square footage for, let's say, one single-family home? Is that a quarter acre?
So
What is
now
that?
it's roughly 6,500 to 7,000 square feet.
Okay.
Average on the singles. And the reason why we like to intermix that is because they're different price points. So, you can purchase a multifamily unit for less than a single family unit. And what it does is it really integrates the demographics of the community, so that you don't have like an entire segment of people at one price point all the way over here, segmented from people at another price point over here. It just tends to create more connection. So, again, this is, very much still in kind of the thinking process in terms of what this amenity could be. But we see this as kind of like a central, park slash potential for like a music venue, pure landscaped, like no structure, where, you could have events here and you could activate all of these spaces around it, the shops, the restaurants, the ice cream store, that stuff around the activity that you can create in the space by hopefully pulling people from the town out here, and then the town pulling people from here into the town. So I will say this is one of the smaller master plans I've ever done in terms of unit count. Definitely not in terms of density. I just finished a 460 unit master plan in a beach community on 50 acres, which is pretty cool. It's up. You can look at it online. You can see some of the work I've done. If you kind of want to get a taste for the quality that we're talking about here.
What's your estimated, with this drawing, with this rendering, what's your estimated population? What's your estimated residents?
So this right now is showing around 179 units. Figure, 2.3 people per.
Yeah, we'll just say 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're pushing 500 residents.
Would you phase it in, or would you, talk to us about your vision.
Phases,
Yeah.
build out.
Yeah, so first of all, we kind of, this is probably at a minimum a 10-year project, probably closer to 15. And we're probably, I would say on the early side, a year from being able to do anything with it, probably closer to 18 full 6 months, between planning and all of the process that we're going to go through. Faster is better, obviously, but there's quite a bit to work out here, and then the engineering takes a significant amount of time. But phase-wise, we're still kind of thinking through this, but there's 2 ways that we would go about it. One would be to build out this primary entrance first, create kind of some of the, you know, the announcement features, not build out this commercial in the beginning, move into some of the multifamily and single-family residential in this phase, probably move into this section next, and then gradually backfill the commercial as we develop the demand for it.
Would you, as you develop it, would you sell the lots off individually and then whoever buys them would choose their house, or are you gonna do like a bunch of spec houses?
No, we're probably, okay, there's only two ways we would do this. If we sold lots, they're under very strict CC&Rs and architectural covenants that have to meet our design standards. So everything has to be approved by us, so that there's not a lot of differentiation between the products, right? Like crazy differentiation.
You'd give them like 3 or 4 things to choose from, maybe.
Yeah, or, you know, they could, you know, or in something like this, we could select like 5 builders and say, these are the 5 builders you can work with. You know, here are, you know, some designs that have been approved by us. You can go pick your builder, you can do some customization to your home, but every house has to have, you know, every corner house has to have a wraparound porch. You know, all the trash receptacles need to be in the back. You know, if you're on a corner, you have to have windows on the side of the house. You know, it can't just be all siding. So we get into that level of detail, and that's if we're not building the product ourselves. If we are building the product ourselves, which we're seriously considering, then, you know, typically what we do is anywhere from 8 to 10 different floor plan layouts, and then people can select the product they want, and then they get to choose between usually 3 or 4 different elevations per product. So for like 8 different housing plans, we can develop 25 to 30 different products in terms of their differentiation. And then, you know, we code every lot. So if you bought, you know, this house on the corner, you know, under a certain floor plan, you're not allowed to put that house here. You know, so there's
Right, so they'd be staggered,
yeah, there's a coding map that we developed that says, okay, this house is allowed to go on this lot. And if that house goes on that lot, then the house next to it has to be a different floor plan. And there has to be 3 products between housing designs and things like that.
Yep, yeah, okay, so one of the things I appreciate about living here is that it's not a cookie cutter neighborhood. Everybody has their own unique home, and that's great, because we're losing that.
Yeah.
And so, having some guidelines that making sure the same 2 houses aren't next to each other is great, so that there's some variation.
Yeah, and as you'll see as we start to get into this, you know, like our design guidelines are, you know, detailed, very detailed. Because our goal as well is not to develop a cookie cutter community. If we do that, we're driving value down, you know.
Right.
People want to live in a, you know, even though we have to be efficient with what we do, people want to feel like their house is their house and it's unique.
Right.
You know, and so that's pretty critical.
Can you talk to us about the bay homes and the accessories? Can you talk about what those are?
Yeah, so bay homes are kind of what we've done before. It's called like a big house concept. And it's essentially a combination of townhomes next to each other with...
Is there one that, oh, right here?
Yeah. So, okay, so first of all, I thought you were talking about the...
Oh, not the stacked,
Stacked,
no.
okay. So the bay homes are going away already.
Okay.
So,
Was that just for cost, or?
no, it was for what we believed was market viability and the look and feel of this area.
So how many buildings? That's 1, 2, 3, is that 4
Yeah,
that
so-
you're disappearing? Okay.
Yeah, it would be these 2, definitely that one, and I think this one.
Okay.
But yeah, we're nixing that. That was a initial design concept that was, you know, like outdoor living, outdoor lifestyle, big garage with living above. but it's just not kind of fitting into our vision, I guess.
And what are the accessory dwellings?
Like these,
The little, says accessory dwelling? Right
yeah, so
there, yeah.
those are essentially the garages behind the homes. So you would have, in certain cases, you could have a detached garage. You know, in some of the areas where there are alleyways, you could pull into the alleyway, pull into your garage, and walk through your backyard to get into your house.
Okay.
Or you can park in the front and walk in the front door.
So on-street parking?
My preference would be yes to have on-street parking. It's gonna come down to whether we can fit it or not.
That's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah.
doing this. I mean, just from snow removal aspect.
Well, we definitely would like to get on-street here in front of.
I think it's smart, yeah.
Yeah.
But in front of residential, I just foresee there being an issue. I don't know if you came down here this winter and came through some of the neighborhoods, but it's super, super tight. So I don't know what the dimensions are, but just food for thought.
And we could make it seasonal.
Yeah.
You know, the Bay Homes brings up an interesting point is, my sons are really leaving the Alpine Lakes area that's north of the refuge. And we're not going to be disassociated with this. And Kobe and I are already talking about that as well. We're dealing with what it is. One of the guys that introduced us to this. But like those Bay Homes, they might work really well over on that Alpine Lakes side. But we can look at this and look at that. At least there's enough volume here for us to say, yeah, how do we make things better for the whole universe here versus here?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that would be a viable location for it, for sure. I think this product has legs. You know, I think this would work well, you know, in Alpine, it would work great in Jackson, it would work great in a lot of places. I just don't think it necessarily fits here with our town center concept.
So the overall feel is the people live here in this area, they're able to walk to the store, walk to all these amenities, things like that. I think it's smart. I mean, we don't have that in Alpine, and that's what we're trying to do with the River Walk project and things like that. Just make it more accessible for people that are riding a bike or walking or whatever. So I definitely give you kudos for that. I think it's smart.
There's a great recreational opportunity, which he pointed out tonight, with that Jordan Canyon connection up above.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be ideal if you could leave your house, take your bike, ride, you know, up into the canyon. And, you know, likewise, you know, National Forest is right here, it goes down to the river. That could be interesting, maybe at least just for a footpath. The trail system along the front of the property, it would be great if we could get a connection to a bike path in town at some point. So that, you know, limiting as many car trips as possible is kind of the goal, right?
Yep. Definitely, I'll just tell you real quick what the vision is on this map, and everyone at home may not be able to see it, but a river walk that would start basically at the mouth of the Grays, come around here on the Bureau of Reclamation land, go underneath the bridge and end up over at Melvin's and potentially hooking up to residential down south. And then we would obviously have access over the bridge and then potentially have the river walk, I don't know if it's in the first phase, but come out this way and over here, and that would be an easy access, or maybe there's additional accesses through those subdivisions onto the path so you can connect to the rest of town. So that's kind of the vision, but I think it plays well with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, I don't know, 100 feet to the National Forest land that
Yeah.
goes down to the water from the property line. So if the bike path kind of went up and stopped there, it'd be an easy
Yep.
connection. You can get an easement to the Forest Service, so.
Another thing that came up in our discussions with YDOT was having bike path on the highway side as well.
Yep.
And YDOT is definitely interested in us taking our sidewalks and our paths out this way. And I think we'd want to kind of mirror that going out on that corridor as well, so.
And I think we'd be a great leverage point in that conversation,
Yeah.
because we're gonna be in a lot of talks with them about, the access points here, the expansion of their right-of-way in order to get a decel lane coming into this property.
Yeah.
So I think we could certainly help with, we know we're gonna have a path along the front of this property, but we may be able, wield some influence on a greater conversation.
Where's the highway on that map?
So this is it.
Highway, and then the 25-foot easement for the Y dot is the black line? Or is that the property line?
Yes, that is the right-of-way. That is the current right-of-way. So the property line technically goes out here, but the right-of-way easement extends into the property
Okay.
for future expansion, which,
In the highway?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen, but,
Yeah, we're already 5 lanes there.
yeah. But we will have to build more than likely, a decel lane for a right turn.
If there were expansion, there's still a nice buffer zone for the residential portion.
Yeah, you already have that built in there.
Is there potential to develop that green area into park space?
Yeah, that was the original intent, was to leave this wide open so that you can kind of, as you're driving in, you kind of get a good shot of, this area. And, I think if you go back up to do you mind
Sure.
scrolling back up to the main plan? Okay, so you can see, what we did here is, unlike a lot of places, we did not back the homes up to the highway. So you're looking at front doors as you're coming down the road.
I noticed that. I think that's smart.
It's smart, but the people that live in those houses are gonna listen to the highway.
They will, but believe it or not, when the community starts to really develop the kind of energy that we're hoping to get here, people are willing to deal with that because the community kind of attracts them for the walkability and the access to the town, and they're willing to deal with a little urban noise because the benefits are that you're close to town and you can bike, you can walk, you can do a bunch of stuff, and if you don't want that noise, this probably isn't the place for you, and you should probably go live on 5 acres in the forest somewhere. That's
Or you buy one of the houses that's further away from the road or whatever.
correct.
Because you could put up a fence to block the noise, but then you're
Now we're
losing the
looking at
view.
different types
Yeah.
of fence.
As this grows and if this annexes into Alpine, does it start to carry more weight with negotiating with YDOT to lower the speed limit there?
That would help.
Well, I may be speaking out of turn, but your design probably does not encourage reducing the speed limit from the meetings that we've had with YDOT. We've talked about this area of the corridor, and frankly, there isn't enough obstruction, there isn't enough congestion. So the way the town of Alpine's, everything's pulled back from the road, actually calls for a higher speed limit. So your design can impact their future decisions.
I would suggest you put a bike path out in the easement or close to it. You're gonna wanna slow down.
True.
Yeah, we need friction, basically,
We
that's
need
what they
friction.
call it. Like, they need to
Yeah.
have cars on the side of the road and things of that nature. Unless we had a parking like right on the highway or something, it's unlikely they're going to drop the speed limit from 45. But, I mean,
Either
it's
way,
all in the
a
design.
development like this will trigger a traffic study.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yes.
And ideally, at some point in the future, there could be a pedestrian crossing.
Well, especially if there's a bike path. I
If
mean,
there's
you're
a
gonna
bike
need
path
that.
there.
So that would be friction, that would be
That would be
something
friction.
that would, it'd have to be a big blinking light, someone pushes the button, I'm crossing, sort of thing, and that's what we're trying to get up here on this side of town, so, yeah.
Although with the amount of traffic, that already gets slowed down. I don't know how positive the feedback would be.
Well, slower is better, I think, if you're kind of, you know, if this got to, you know, it's 40 right now?
45.
45. I mean, 35 certainly would be an improvement. Yeah. So, but I think that's all possible. Let's put it this way, we've done more with less. I mean, I'm building a pedestrian tunnel under a highway right now to access two different sides of the road in one community. We've got 1,100 homes on one side, and I've got like 250 on the other. And in order to connect them, we are tunneling under the highway and building a pedestrian connection underneath.
This type of project might necessitate something like that. And we've had discussions with YDOT in other meetings that we've had recently with that exact same thing. So it's not surprising, and maybe that would be perfect solution for.
Yeah, if the depth of groundwater allows it,
Yeah.
that would be an ideal way to do it. Yeah, because, you know, it's, no matter what you do with the speeds here, people are gonna not obey them.
Yeah.
That's a very busy road, as you
Yeah.
guys
It is
well
very
know.
busy.
65 right there coming out of the canyon. It's the norm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Have you spoken to any retail or businesses, small businesses, local businesses? Have you kind of gauged that interest?
I mean, a lot of it's anecdotal. I can tell you as a, you know, now a business owner in Alpine, you know, it's hard to find office space. It's definitely hard to find kind of Class A, any kind of Class A retail. You know, there's pockets here and there, but in terms of just availability, it's limited. Somebody, you know, typically has to move out. Anecdotally, I would say, you know, living in Jackson, I hear constantly from business owners in Jackson that, you know, oh, I'd love to open up a spot in Alpine. And it's like, but, you know, I'm probably gonna have to buy a piece of land, I'm gonna have to build a building, you know, there's not a lot of development going on that's saying, hey, if we build it, they will come.
Yeah, we're definitely desperate for commercial development.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. It's, you know, it's all over the state workers.
And there's so many things we'd like to have here, but there's nowhere for them to be.
Right.
So that's a challenge.
Everybody has to realize too, the winds of change will blow at least once, if not twice, over the course of that build-out.
Yes, yeah,
We'll go through a recession, we'll go through a boom, we'll go through at least once.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe within the next year.
I was gonna say, it's coming.
That
So-
one's slow you down.
Phase-wise, construction-wise, as you go, no matter what plan is discussed, how would you keep that attractive? As that is the corridor, that is the entryway to Alpine. That's something anybody who develops that land would face as a challenge, but how do you propose if this is 10 to 15 years?
Yeah.
We certainly don't want people to be turned away.
No.
Let me start
Yeah, go
there.
ahead.
You know, that's county land right now.
Yes.
And like, that's a whole different game. So
Yep.
if it were to stay in the county,
Mm-hmm.
who knows what you're gonna get? I don't know what you got across the street,
Mm-hmm.
what we got across the street.
Except that the county doesn't allow the type of density that we would inside town limits.
Well, I mean, it's a very big positive to have this be part of the town, I think, in terms of what actually is there.
Could be all storage units.
That's exactly right. And we don't need more storage units here. And so,
There's a question in the back.
Yes.
Do you know that
hold on just one second. Go ahead.
Exactly who owns that property now?
That's the Klinger property, so Michael Klinger.
So, okay, so they still own it.
Yes.
So are you looking
we're
for
under
annexation?
well, we're under contract to purchase it.
You're under
And We're
contract?
under contract to purchase it, and the issue is, are we gonna get there? Are we gonna build this thing? Are we gonna commit? I mean, it's a
Okay,
big
so
deal.
you're only gonna build it if you
If it
have,
makes sense.
if you get annexation?
No, I mean, it just has to be a viable, quality product or project, and things that I promised to the Klingers contractually memorialized. No storage units, no RVs, and I said something else. I can't remember what it was, but I made a commitment to Michael and to Brent and Karen that
I think in general, this is a fact-finding mission that they are on, and they have come up with this plan, and they're kind of testing the waters, bringing this to us to say, what do you guys think?
Exactly.
I think, I'll speak for myself, I think this includes all the things that we're hoping it would, as far as the commercial, small businesses, live-work situations that you have built in there. I think that's great. I've been preaching that since through the whole election process, that we need more commercial. So if it were me, I would say, start with some of the commercial, because it's kind of that build it and they will come sort of thing. And it's kind of, I think, a little bit opposite of what you said, but if I could give any encouragements, I would say maybe, try to mix in some. But that's just me. I'll let everyone else, speak their mind on that.
And Kobe, I interrupted you. You asked how we would make this a great presentation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and just to hammer that one, we're going to have to build some of the commercial in order to create kind of the entrance that is like powerful to sell what's back here.
Right.
Right,
Otherwise, it just looks like, a road to nowhere.
right.
So we got, we were kind of forced to do that from a marketing standpoint, but, clearly we're not gonna be able to do it all day one. In terms of how we phase it, in order to, reduce, I guess, kind of the, there's gonna be quite a bit of construction traffic, it's just the way it's gonna be. But one is to get the entrance in first. I think one of the first things we do is the announcement, once, we're annexed, is, kind of changing the announcement of welcome to Alpine. We develop typically in sections where we'll move from back to front, is typically how we do it. These will probably be some of the last homes that we sell that are right up against the hill, because those are probably the most premium lots. We'll do a lot of the interior stuff in the beginning. These will also be among the last homes we sell, because of, we need the energy from this community to drive these based on the highway noise and everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
But when we get kind of deep into this, there'll be like a detailed phasing plan that we'll agree on. It'd be like, this is phase one, this is phase two, and this is exactly how this community is gonna be developed, which is a conversation between us, right?
Right.
So,
Well, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you want to come forward. We've had discussions, and this community has a lot of desires, and honestly, both of us were newly elected, and there's a lot of campaign promises that we made, and that's for very slow, conscientious, smart type of development, and we have to be very careful with density. So I'm interested to hear from you. I know, and this was just a rendering, but I know September 2022, this was your original plan, and what I believe Mr. Funk had said during a meeting was the Klingers were very supportive of something with a lot of green space. Quote, all they want me to do is make sure this property is guided in a way that represents the town of Alpine in a great way. And that green space is expensive, but it also makes a higher quality development, and it's not packed density. It's more of a flow, lots of green areas, lots of park space.
So, I can't speak to that necessarily, but
yeah,
what I can say is that as a town, you want kind of the density to be in the areas that are most, fit for it. So, given that this is a major commercial area on these sides, this is where density should go in this particular spot. Now, subdivisions further out and going south that are done through the county and things like that, should be more open, larger lots, things like that. There's really not a property in the town of this scale, 35 acres, available to do anything like this anywhere else. This is it, right? So if you're gonna put density anywhere, this is where you put it. And we will have green space and corridors and things. We still have a lot of planning. This is actually quite a big chunk of land, and we've got a lot of work to do on how we design I think when you see the next concept plan, you're gonna see a much greater level of detail when we wanna come in and do the actual charrette process. As like, okay, here's something that we think is maybe 80% of the way there. Now let's get into the individual detail about what you like, what you don't like, things like that. Which I don't think is gonna take us very long. If we leave here with a good sense that like, we like the concept, the idea of it, we're very interested in this becoming a part of the town. We'll go hammer, our design team, really try to work out some of these kinks, maybe even develop somewhat of a phasing plan, reschedule a meeting and come back in with our planners, our engineers, and, really get down into the details.
So one major question I have is, what's it gonna cost the town of Alpine? What is the plan? How are you going to fund the project?
Yeah, it's a good question.
That's the question that everyone at home wants to know too, so just so you know.
So, first of all, there should be no net cost to the town. The cost of like extending major infrastructure and things like that,
All that will be shouldered by
that will all
development.
be borne by us. Now, we do, I think I've mentioned in the past, want to put a public financing program in place just for this community. So it's a special tax that's limited only to the residents in this community. It's fully disclosed to them, when they buy the home. It's a 30-year tax that they pay that goes to help pay for all of that regional infrastructure over time, because it's very expensive.
Improvement district.
Yes. Correct.
Well, and we're looking at, and this is something that we faced with other development projects, we're looking at what type of fees can be imposed at the beginning to cover that maintenance.
Yeah.
Any amenities, any infrastructure, basically impact fees that we can keep in a separate fund. And should things start to break down 10, 15, 20 years down the line, we're not bankrupting ourselves as a town to cover those
For sure.
financial costs.
And we'll do, a complete third-party study of, the various reserve accounts that need to be set aside, what portion, of the tax assessed here is going towards those reserve accounts. What are the responsibilities of the HOA in terms of funding those amenities and making sure those are in place. So yeah, that'll be part of this process, is kind of presenting, the economics of how this will work.
What does your affordability look like? And I know that I'm sure changes by plan, but if you stuck with this plan,
Yeah.
what are you looking at for the single-family homes? What are you looking at for the multifamily?
The answer is, we have no idea.
Okay.
Just to be honest with you, it's, we're a little bit all over the map on that. We know it's going to be less than Jackson substantially. And, hopefully, because it's a new community with, a lot of energy and a nice sense of place and things like that, it sells at a little bit of a premium to your standard subdivision where you have zero amenities and you maintain all of your own property and everything else.
Would there be, like up in Jackson, they have the affordable housing type?
Although that differs radically. We've seen
Yeah.
those be $800,000, $900,000.
Yeah, they just had a workforce house that came on the market for $800,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Sorry.
That was a sunset clause situation, right? Like they had owned it for 25 years or whatever, and then they were able to sell it at market value?
No, this
Oh.
was,
This is a different.
this was 50% of market value at a 0 to 3%
Oh my God.
increase a year.
Mhm.
Wow, okay.
I think the conversation about affordable housing is on the table, but I will say up front that a lot of what Steve and I are trying to figure out right now are how to make the economics of this deal work.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's already challenging.
Right.
Well, and to go along with what you're asking,
Yeah.
there's other projects in town that they're not necessarily affordable, but, 160 units over there, those are apartments, right? And I think we always just have to keep that in mind, the big picture, make sure we are covering the diverse community that we have. And so I don't know necessarily what that means to your project, but.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we handle, the affordability question here is by delivering a mix of products at different price points. So if we can build a smaller unit, that is a condo unit above some commercial, we can hit a lower price point on that, right? Obviously, a single family is gonna sell at a premium to the condominium or a townhome. But we can create price segmentation based on product. And it's in our best interest to get some product with a lower price point that brings people into the community. And then try to ratchet them up into, a lot of our communities, people move from one product to the next and stay in the same community over the years. They, newly married, move into a condo, then they start having kids, they get into a townhome, and then, professional lives start to bloom, and all of a sudden they want a single family. And that is, that's a sign of a successful project.
We planning any rentals?
There is a possibility for rentals. I think that the commercial is gonna be big enough of a bear for us to try to handle on the rental side, just based on the cost of the infrastructure and construction and everything, so I don't see a huge rental component. We've talked about lodging potentially. This was in the original vision, potential like boutique hotel. This was kind of a corner store. I don't think that's going to be viable with the KJs right next to it. Whether or not this works, is TBD, but,
Right, because there was a lot of pushback even with cobblestone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just, so when we, for a community like this, when we talk about like hotel, focus on the word boutique, because a cobblestone in the center of a community like this doesn't really,
Doesn't fit.
We'll see, but.
Are you open to looking at larger lot sizes? Is this the density you would like to see?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'd like to get a little more density.
Okay.
That looks pretty tight to me.
That's very tight.
It is.
So an acre's what, 43,600 square feet? Okay, and you're talking about 5,000 to 7,000 square feet? Okay.
But let me give you the full, let us drill down first, and I'm gonna show you how density looks great, I promise.
I'm not worried about the look.
Okay.
I'm worried about, and I'm just a mouthpiece. My opinion does not matter in this council.
Well, it matters
This
to me.
is, well, thank you, I appreciate that. But this is just what I've feedback from doing some discrete talks for the last 2 years. This is very dense, and people they're not as much worried about the appearance, although obviously as a community, we want to make sure that something is pleasing and welcoming when people come in. But they're worried about traffic, they're worried about a huge influx of people coming in.
Sure.
These people have lived here for a long time, they have skin in the game. That's their vision moving forward, is what does that look like? These streets, I don't know, I'm sure you've thought about traffic, but again, that is a really busy corridor. This is a lot to put right along that way. I can see people lining up, trying to get out for work in the morning. But I love the live work spaces. That's something that I know a lot of people would want. And the retail, the inline retail, really nice, attractive type of commercial space. That's obviously a huge need. The housing, that's something that I don't know. The
Sure.
type of reaction to something this dense. I think one home per half an acre things like that, that's what a lot of people talk about, but obviously, I mean, you have to make money, so,
Well, it's not just about making money, it's important, otherwise we couldn't do it.
right.
But it's also about, again, like, if this doesn't happen like this, nothing like this will happen anywhere else in the town. Like, I mean, we've looked at like all the properties, like, where else could you use something like this?
Right.
It's just not possible.
No, there's not a space like this.
So, you know, when we get all the pretty pictures out here and the landscape drawings of what the entrance is gonna look like and what it, you know, what it looks like when you come into the community and some of the, you know, renderings of the buildings and all of that stuff, I think we can do a lot to kind of ease the noise in that conversation and help, you know, with the, I guess, political will to carry this forward. Because, and again, I mean, we have so many examples over the last 20 years in my company of projects that we've done, you know, just like this, that you can touch, you can drive through right now, and they're thriving communities. So it's not, this isn't a test subject. I mean, this does work. So now the question is, does it work in Alpine? And that's what Steve and I are trying to figure
Feeling out,
And-
yeah.
But we wouldn't be here if we didn't think it was possible.
And we don't, it would be terrible to spin the wheels and spin all the wheels. Like, you always have to ask yourself, if not that, then what? Right? And that density is just like, and I'd love to have seen more green. Like I said, we took 2022, but I'm just a dumb existing office building owner. That's what my business was, when I had developed obviously in here and in green. But, you know, when it all is said and done, including my wonderful neighbor back there, which is, you see that lady is a great character too. So when it's all said and done, the viability of whatever goes there comes down to the people that undertake to deliver. And the Klingers, you know, really wanted me, because I'm obsessive compulsive with Michael, and I really enjoy obsessive compulsive quality. And then you've got to team up with somebody who's been there, done that in this category more than once and is a proven success. And then you got a real chance that this project will get from the beginning to the finish without blowing up or going wrong. And that's where COVID fits in. And he and I have taken quite a bit of time to kind of, you know, get to know each other at our moments of disagreement and agreement. But, you know, he's got the skill and the will to do it, and that's important.
Can I clarify just a couple things on lot sizes? So the smallest lot sizes, how much are they per acre?
So so the total, you got 175 units on 35 acres, so that's your average density. But the individual lots are anywhere from 6,500 to 7,500 square feet.
How many acres is that?
So that is like,
40.
just under
By 7.
10,000 or 11,000-ish square feet would be a quarter acre, so.
Under a quarter acre.
Under a quarter acre?
You're looking like .18.
Okay. What size are some of the lots that we have in like Old Alpine? Are those quarter acre lots or smaller?
Those are roughly, in Old Alpine?
Just up the grades, I don't know what the exact subdivisions are. I'm sorry?
Old Alpines.
Okay, up the grays and off to the left. There's,
Some of it, there's a mixture.
They're all different, yeah.
Yeah, they're all different.
You
Half
have a-
acre.
What range?
Down to like a third,
My house is a half.
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You
mine's
have
just
a-
over a half,
Yeah.
yeah.
In your zoning code, you have a subdivision that has 6,000 square foot lots.
Right. What I'm trying to relate is we have parts of the town existing that match density that's very similar to that. They're built out completely. They've been there for a long time. We have parts of town that are half acre or, you know, third of an acre, like in my neighborhood, which match some of the other properties there. The difference in this is that it will be built out and look very dense. But in my neighborhood, it's maybe 50% built out, right? So it doesn't look very dense at all.
Right.
So I think that's something that these guys will be, it's going to appear very dense, but I don't know if it's that much more dense than other parts of Alpine. I guess is my
How many
point.
homes are in? Riverview Meadows potential.
I mean, we're like at 50% at the most, right? Of occupancy of lots. So, in that subdivision's been there 30 years.
Right.
So if we had 100% in our neighborhood, it would look just like parts of the plan that they're
The difference
coming up with.
between this and a different kind of project that could end up better is this has got, there's no joint walls, right? It could be a townhouse project.
Right.
It could be apartments, it could be, these are individual standalones as we're conceiving it now.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about these products, these are pretty interesting, cool products. It's like what we call a big house design where it looks like a large single-family home, but it's actually a multifamily unit.
And those are 15 each, right? 15 units each? Did I read that right?
No, that
It
should
said
not be.
75
That would be hard.
stacked
can't
flats.
imagine. I can't imagine that. Yeah.
Is that the stacked flat?
Yeah.
Oh, so 45. So 45 split between 3?
Yeah, between 1, 2, 3, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 15.
Yeah, okay. I'm interested to see the floor plan, our design proposed for that.
Okay, that seems like a lot. Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
But when I said earlier, I actually like more density. I'm not suggesting that we make the single families any tighter.
Right.
But I do believe getting rid of some of these units and adding more density in this area around the commercial of multifamily units would better serve this area. Because if we can get enough vibrancy here with people, it's gonna activate all this commercial.
Christine has a question for you.
I have a couple of them. So, you've got here your boutique hotel. So let's just say it doesn't pan out and you don't put that there. Is there another option?
Yes, that will probably become, this whole area, let's just say, is gonna need to be completely redesigned.
But would it stay commercial or would you put
More homes.
some multifamily?
That's a great question.
It would be, more likely it would be residential.
Okay, and what about the general store? Because you were talking about that
Yeah, that one is
adjacent to Casey's.
that one's a question mark. Steve and I gotta talk about that.
Yeah, and boutique hotel, that connotates kind of small and maybe not a flag on it. I don't know, what if the Marriott Suites came along? I mean, what happened to Cobblestone? Why was there so much pushback on Cobblestone?
Just the location in the
The
neighborhood.
location.
Because it is just right there at the edge of it.
Yeah, I always thought Cobblestone should have been out there.
I think they tried.
So there's not an option to do the, I thought the original thing was to put the hotel where the current Klinger home is in the.
That was actually this,
Maybe a
no,
original
hotel was always on the other
of the
side.
road.
But you could see all of that retail commercial as you came through town, which is great for small businesses. And all the homes were in the back.
Right.
So you could see exactly what you were passing as far as a store, and you could stop and,
Yeah, this is, this is more challenging commercial, for any kind of like national retail, anything like that. I mean, because all they care about is street facing, traffic counts on the road, and, they have certain metrics they have to fit within. This is definitely what we call neighborhood retail.
right.
Yeah. Now, and maybe I spoke too soon on this hotel property. Steve and I need to sync up on that as well. I do think if you got a premium brand in there, it would work. It just can't be something that in any way takes away from the premium value of the rest of the community.
Right.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering because if I think a boutique hotel would be fine, but, if it doesn't pan, we know
Right.
rentals, if it doesn't pan out, so. And then, can I keep talking?
Yes.
So the last question I have is you guys touched on, a special, like a special zone or a specific zone for this property. You've done this before, so in your experience, what type of zoning have your other projects been put into?
we name the community, and then we create a zoning district specifically just for this community. And in that zoning district, that's where we lay out all the specifics about side yard setbacks, rear, front yard, you know, how many parking spaces per commercial unit. We basically have to create, you know, every component of a zoning code as you would for a completely new zoning ordinance, but it only applies to this project. And it's part of the annexation agreement that says, you know, we're gonna do this, our responsibility is to extend sewer to the site, you know, things like that. Is all, you know, the annexation agreement lists out all the requirements from us, what the town's gonna provide, and then it also zones the property on annexation under this new zoning ordinance.
You'd have to pass the ordinance first, or simultaneously, I guess, so.
Do you have any questions on this?
I kind of looked at some of your other projects and they look fabulous. The big question I have is and maybe this is just a dumb question, what do we have as far as enforcement under this agreement if something doesn't happen, as you said, or you're not able to do it, or a timeline on it? What's been your experience on that? Because, I mean, you could say, all right, this is going to be, for example, commercial, and you get 9 years, 10 years down the road, and we still have this empty space. You know, would we have sunsets in that so that it could be changed to some form of residential? What have you done? I guess I don't have experience.
Yeah, so typically what we do is we come in, once we annex and we zone, then we come in with a master plan. And we get master plan approval. And the master plan says, okay, this is commercial, and this is single family, and this is multifamily, and it kind of lays out that level of detail. And then that's attached to the land. So it can't be changed without us coming in and amending the master plan, other than for, you know, like, you know, we can make tweaks to, you know, moving this house over here and things like that, but, you know, the main kind of components of the project kind of get locked in without us coming back before you and requesting changes. Then we come in for preliminary plan approval in sections. So we say, okay, this is the first section we want to do, here's our preliminary plan, which is much higher level of detail. And then final approval, and then we're under construction. And then we'll come in for preliminary on the next phase, and then final, and then keep doing that. So that's how you're protected, I guess, is that anytime we want to make what we call a substantive change, which would be turning commercial into residential, it has to be approved by
Right.
the town.
What if something happens 3 years down the road and you haven't even put a shovel in the ground, sort of thing? Funding, recession, whatever, things go south.
Yeah. I mean,
It'd be painful for us.
yeah.
Be very expensive.
It'd be, yeah, it's, you know, it's not a, you know, because of its location, it's not a cheap piece of land, and, you know, I think you know, we're used to bearing the economic risk, I guess. And I would say that if the project went belly up and we abandoned it, it would be the first project that has ever happened to me in 20 years. Never been foreclosed on in any deal, never given a deal back to the bank, never sold a note short, never filed bankruptcy, never, never, never. So,
But I guess the thing is, let's say worst case scenario, if that did happen,
Right.
you would already have it zoned out.
The plan is already
Yeah,
set.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So you would have to come back to you guys to change it.
Right.
It would have already lost their shirts and gone to South America.
South America.
Yes. I'm a pessimist. That's why I got in the development business. So my idea is either kill everybody off or make them big. So
No, I understand. But we agree on the vision, we agree on the master plan, and then if somebody else buys the project from us, they have to adhere to it.
Is there any other questions? Jeremy, do you have something?
Just where you're spitballing it, just right off the bat, definitely, this is gonna scare the shit out of a lot of people. I mean, I'm not gonna skirt around that. We just got done with a meeting that, everybody in here wanted it to be Alpine of, 2000. It's just not. I personally, I love the differentiation strategy. When the other project for the apartments came in, Alpine needs a differentiation strategy. We need different types of housing. I like the single family, I like the multifamily, I like the studio, I love the live work. We need to have more live work. Just thoughts, would I nail into anybody that's trying to build here? Brian will know, probably y'all already have an answer for me. Snow storage, snow storage, snow storage, snow storage, snow storage, snow storage, snow storage.
Which we did just change.
We're in the
We're in the process of changing our land use code.
I look at all the different pitches, just something to consider. That's, this property is definitely different than beachfront. More pitches you have, the more chances for ice dam, the more chances for damage. I like it, but just as you as a developer, something to think about. It's, Alpine's growing, Star Valley's growing. That's not gonna change. Yeah, we're gonna go through ups and downs, but we've already gone through a major recession where, 15% of the homes were vacated. I bought my home on foreclosure when I moved here. And look where we're at now. It's gonna happen again, but then it's gonna come back. We live in a very unique situation. I'll kind of echo other thoughts here. I'll put on my ATAP hat of okay, I'm sure it's there, but just in this rendering, I don't see bike paths. I don't see a walking community in this. I just don't. Like I say, I'm sure it's there, but that doesn't scream walking community to me. And I believe in density because, it sucks to go dense, but if you're dense, that means you have more room to play. You're usually thrown in a park. You're usually close to public land. It's what it is where we're building nowadays and where we have to build. I'd be curious where we're still Alpine. Still people have their snowmobiles, their trailers, their 3 trucks. What's your thought there? Because that's just, that's just the culture right now.
For storage. Yeah.
So that, first of all, you will see, this is a grid design. You will see all of the trail system and everything, the next time we come in, including entrance features and some of the architecture of that. And it'll be a much greater level of detail. The auxiliary structures that we're talking about here are some of the ideas we're proposing in order to handle some of that, the toys. We know we gotta have a toy. I wish my garage was
big enough.
4 bays, so it's never big enough, right? But that's the only way we're gonna attract people. The market is gonna drive us to solve that problem.
But those items would be taken care of and you would have covenants and restrictions for that particular subdivision, so
you can enforce it.
Hopefully that would be handled by the HOA enforcement.
Yeah. Please, you guys handle that.
In my experience, the HOA takes on a life of its own. There's always 4 or 5 enforcers, and we're dealing with a few of them on a couple other projects right now. So
I would say Jeremy brings up a good point. You know, parks, playgrounds, things of that nature. I mean, the closest playground to that in town, I don't know where it is. I mean, it might be Ferry Peak Park or in our neighborhood. But, I mean, it's a consideration.
Yeah,
You know,
I
are you
think
gonna have
that's a very good
sidewalks in there?
Yeah, these are all, so there will be sidewalks everywhere. These are all, you know, schematic, these are all sidewalks all along every street.
Will it have curb and gutter?
That is going to come down to street width, snow removal, how much space do we have?
Yep.
The less space we have, the more we have to go to full stormwater management versus swales. I will say, if I were to guess right now, we're probably gonna have to have curb and gutter. So,
And there's no park in this rendering, correct? There's
No, I
no
was
playground or anything like that?
Is there any way that you could put in
Yeah,
a park?
because
I
Ferry
mean, I
Peak
know
can't
that,
take that.
You know, you've gotta get the most bang for your buck, for your lots and stuff like that, but if you were to take maybe 2 of those lots and maybe make that a community park
Yeah.
over there, that would also help with adding green space in there.
yeah, I think when we take a good look at this section here, I can tell you, you know, there's no way we're gonna get away with building a community without a playground.
Yeah,
This is impossible.
yeah,
So there will be one, it might be 2 or 3.
especially with the special district tax. Yeah, okay.
So,
Even the green space off of the highway could be developed from a landscape perspective.
yeah, and there might be,
Hey, kids, today we're
you
playing
know,
Frogger.
when we come back in, I mean, there may be a dog park here. You know, there's a lot of, like, stuff that is very much still on the table that's not in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm also confused in that the purchase of the Klinger property, doesn't that also include the other side of, what's the road there?
It's an option on the other side.
What's that?
It's an option.
It's an option,
It's
okay.
an
Because
expansion
that's where I remember the hotel going, once that kind of went
You know, like,
away.
If a hotel came here today and it was one mile like, and they said, I want to get this end or that in, you might dance to that music, but, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
But the precise contractual terms, we remove subjects and go ahead, that we have 2 options and they can put to us, and we have 6 months to decide if we will accept the put.
Gotcha, okay.
Take out that additional land.
So as
So
a-
we're already having a discussion, it's very preliminary.
Sure,
on that
okay.
Next 8
Okay.
acres.
So that hasn't come into play officially yet?
Kind of needs to,
Yeah.
I think, just gives us more options for green space.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I mean, where they're already, I mean, the only kind of planned community I know is over those in Salt Lake area. I have friends that live in Daybreak. Yeah, and they love it. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but sometimes they make me feel a little jealous because I'm kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool because of the way that they've packed in the density, but yet opened up the green space. So they have your walking paths, they have a park, they have a duck pond, they have all kinds of crap that, you know, enhances the.
Really cool stuff, not
Potato, potato. But it looks, I mean, it does, it looks good. And that'd be the other question is, what's the beach community one you just finished, Colby, so I can look at it on
It's
the.
called Ocean View Beach Club. It's in a town called Ocean View, Delaware. Maybe just go to my website.
I'm there.
Or you go to.
I'm sending it to him.
And the website.
We send it to all of us.
For the project is called livewelloceanview.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, is there any more questions?
I have one more.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go for it, Christine. That's why you're here.
Okay, so has the conversation taken place with YDOT? This is, I'm just looking at this aerial map and then looking at your overlay over here and not really kind of getting the full concept for curb cuts.
Yeah, so the idea for the entrance is to line up with the entrance entrance that's
That
across the
entrance
street.
to Snake River Junction?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
We think YDOT's gonna pretty much require that, so, plus it's,
I was gonna say, I kinda think that they might
yeah.
also.
And so there's only 2 curb cuts, really? There's this one and then this one over here? Is that?
Yeah,
Or-
and that was a potential, we
Over here too.
We think there's probably gonna need to be 2 points of egress.
Yeah.
And a lot of this here depends on whether we end up acquiring the 8 acres over here.
Yeah.
I was looking at what parcel
It
that
looks
would
like you
be.
have 3 curb cuts, but
Well, there's already an easement between the apartment buildings and cages out there.
An easement for that
For
road,
road
for
and-
Boardwalk Drive, yeah.
Yeah.
what other questions do you have for us?
I think we got a good, yeah. I think we've got a good
Can't give you
start.
that yet, Steve, but
No, I think you've given us the feedback we need. We need to go back and do some, much more detailed, planning and drawing and then come back to you with, I've heard some of the feedback already that we can incorporate. So let us do some more homework. I think I've got a good sense. My sense is that, yes, you would rather this be a part of the town than not. And so we can start there.
I think to do the density that you want to do, it's required. I mean, you can't do it in
You
the
can't do
county.
it in the county.
So I think
we
that's
need-
like, you need to start there. Yes. Yeah. You guys need to hook up to our sewer and water, and this will be a great addition to the town. It elevates that part of town for sure. It's a huge addition. Obviously, after the meeting we had earlier, I think there's gonna be pushback, but you're used to that. We're used to that. But as long as we can, you guys own the property and you have the right to develop the property. And so, we need to just try to steer you into what we think is best for the town of Alpine. And then I think we'll end up in a very similar space, so.
And you guys, we're gonna need your help. I know there's gonna be pushback too. I mean, it's kind of like, if not this, then what?
Right, I mean, this looks a whole hell of a lot better to me than a bunch of storage units.
Yeah.
Because the property will sell anyway, regardless if you guys buy it or somebody.
Something
So,
about it.
yeah.
And again, if I'm sitting on this side of the table, if I was sitting on the side of that side of the table, I'd be going, oh, I want that in town, I want my oversight on that.
I think this accomplishes so many things that we set out to accomplish in the drawings you were looking at from a year ago. It's creating a little town center, neighborhood town center that's full of life. There's life on the street there. There's this south-facing courtyard that's a shared gathering place. And there's amenities. And yeah, there's density that some people are scared of, but in a premium community like this, that kind of density is gonna feel right. And the fact that it's set off the road, and there's a green buffer opportunity there, I think you need the density to support the amenities that are coming into this development. And then once you get that density in the town, you bring in 400 or 500 people for the next 15 years, that creates the demand for more amenities throughout the town.
We appreciate your opinion, Brian, because I know you live right above this. And you have a personal interest in it. So I know you'll steer it the right way.
One of the,
People help us smooth out the trails.
one of the comments,
There are no
well, a
trails
couple,
out there.
was
Yeah, there isn't.
they don't want 500 more people who rent moving in. This is not what that is.
Yeah, this is ownership.
There's home ownership.
Yep.
So,
And over the next 15, 10 years, call it, those people come in here anyway, it's just a matter of where they're gonna come.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
there's no stopping
but
it.
this is home
I mean,
ownership.
People are coming here. Do we want to be proactive with it?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's well thought out and it's planned, accordingly.
That to me is the definition of smart development. So, we'll get, I'm sure, a lot of public feedback, but I think you guys have
Are we doing away with
done.
the runway?
I'm sorry?
Are we doing away with the runway theme?
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe you could
That
put
was
some,
going back to Dallas, right?
maybe you could put
Yeah.
some center stripes right down
I
that.
kinda did, I was kinda like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's,
Because what that did for me is it sparked a lot of interest to look more historically at the town of Alpine, like, all right, well,
yeah, it's a-
Just put a center stripe down there. Can you make one road look like a runway for us? All right. I think it's a great concept, but, well, anyways, does anyone else have any other comments? I think, hopefully you have what you need from us for right now. Please work with staff and the, development people and, but,
Oh, that was my last question, Christina. I know we've got 8+ will serve letters out for hooking up to our water and sewer? Okay, so we also need a better picture on what type of capacity we can handle.
so the town is working on a water study.
Right.
And hopefully we have that in the next year? Yeah,
Year.
year. So, obviously that will play into that, but, as far as sewer capacity,
Right.
we have tons.
Right.
So a project like that helps us pay off the $3 million loan that we have that we need to get rid of as soon as possible. But we have 30 years right now to get rid of it. But a development like this really helps us pay that
So
down.
this will probably require somewhere between 75 and 90,000 gallons per day over, say, 12 to 15 years.
You got that? Say that.
She wants to
Write
write
that
it
down.
down for
Hold
sure.
on, I better write it down.
Yeah. I think the range is somewhere between 75 and 90,000 gallons per day at 300 gallons per day per equivalent dwelling unit. Plus commercial.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I just want an idea. I don't want to promise if we can't even handle it as.
Yeah, I mean, the way I understand it is, right now, taking the sludge out and everything, setting that aside.
Yeah.
Your capacity is roughly 400,000 gallons, from what I understand.
Currently.
Yeah, currently. You're using about 175-ish or so.
And we have the capacity to double that
Okay,
in the future,
yeah,
if we needed it.
okay.
Yeah.
And yes, these residents would be contributing significantly to that fund,
Yep.
so.
Okay,
I was just thinking,
yeah.
Okay.
She's running numbers in her head.
We've been talking numbers a lot lately with Christine and will serve letters and things like that, so anyways.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Bring all this in.
Thanks, you guys, appreciate it. If no other questions, we'll just adjourn this meeting. Thanks. You guys
Thanks,
can turn off
Colby.
your
Thank you,
microphone.
Steve.